It's Wednesday, October 9th, and I replayed Life is Strange remastered version, episode 3, Chaos Theory. I'm replaying Life is Strange, the remastered version, because the calendar dates match up. I'm replaying Life is Strange. Have fun. And as in the previous episodes, before I start with my thoughts on it, I'm giving you the plot summary from the Life is Strange wiki. Episode 3, Chaos Theory. On October 8th, Max and Chloe's investigation into Rachel Amber's disappearance lead them to break into Blackwell Academy after dark, searching for answers. It's here and in the following day they discover that Rachel kept many secrets and was not the person Chloe thought she knew. Max meanwhile discovers she has another power that brings with it some devastating consequences. So, as the summary said, the episode starts off with the evening of the previous day, and as I already expected, I killed Lisa, the plant, and so Max's comment on that was, at least I could save Kate. Now, just imagine if I wouldn't have managed to save Kate on that roof, and Max would just be double upset, not managing to save Kate and killing her plant. That probably makes up for even though on a serious topic, kinda fun commentary. And as always with this playthrough, I looked around everything before going further into plot points, and seeing all those messages from specific people on Kate's social media page just made me really angry and upset. Like, especially Victoria being all hypocritical, like, sending love to you, Kate. Seriously? After all what she did, being like that, like, I guess she's still human? Which snooping in her room shows like, oh, she's secretly a geek. But one glow-in-the-dark action figure doesn't make her a good person. And it's just so interesting to see the aftermath of Kate being on that roof, and you get so many people, well, you get like 2 people to talk to, being super upset about what happened, and it's interesting depending on what you respond to have them either be, yeah, that was terrible, we are all to blame, or if you're accusing them of really getting Kate up on that roof, they are getting super defensive, as if, I don't know. But it's definitely really interesting to see it like that. And then sneaking out of the dormitory past a super drunk Principal Wells, and then there was this small minute of peace before I got angry and upset again, because, wow, Victoria is such a vile creature. Like before I was, oh, Blackwell Academy at night is so peaceful and quiet and nice, with like the moths on the street lamp and everything. And then watching that entire scene with Victoria and Jefferson, like her first going all flirty on him, being like, oh, imagine if we could travel there, and he keep kept reminding her that he isn't going to the art exhibit for the Everyday Heroes contest. And then she turned the thing around and threatened him to say he asked for favors for getting the good grades and stuff. And that's just wow. Victoria is a special character, and there's probably somewhere around in the story something that I've maybe missed or haven't seen yet in my replay exploration playthrough, that she probably has like at least an ounce of good behavior hidden somewhere under all that terrible stuff she does and keeps doing and everything like that. And so the next step is sneaking into Principal Wells' office, and like, it's cool that Warren helped with the explosive device, but it's also so annoying that he again asked to hang out for the movie night, and that after I had Max reject him 2 times already. On the gameplay side, walking through that school with only the flashlight was so scary, even though I knew in that part wasn't any danger of getting caught. And just within that tense moment, I loved the self-referential humor that Max used on her clumsiness when she went to get that weed killer for the bomb, and was like, use the chair, Max, don't use your rewind power too much if you can avoid it. And so it's time to get into the office and go through all the files, and it's just wild how much stuff is being hidden that Nathan actually does, and also more painting of David as a total suspicious bad guy. And it's just interesting that the game lays out all those little evidences and things out there, and it just makes for such a good plot twist. But that's something for the next episode. I'm going into detail even more then. And obviously I stole the money, because even though it's for the handicap fund, and quite a bit of irony that considering what will happen in the end of that episode, it's clearly hush money to sweep everything under the rug that Nathan has done in school and keeping that stuff out of his record. So yeah, I stole that money. And the pool scene was again like some really sweet contrast. I think as far as, if I remember correctly, and it just has been a few days, over the span of a few days, every episode so far had one of those sweet little moments to just take a breath before the next tense moment comes. Like, episode 2 had the junkyard exploring and shooting, and episode 1 didn't really need it, since it was just some introduction. And yeah, the hide and seek in the Blackwell Academy pool was kinda tense, but it's more a me problem, since I usually don't like stealth in non-stealth games. It just feels like maybe most of the time it's maybe a mechanical thing, that being so used to the controls of the game and them suddenly making you do something that you usually wouldn't do in that game. It's weird, like, I don't like it. If I want to do stealth, I go out and play a game about stealth, but I really usually don't like it in non-stealth gameplay games. And so that day in the episode actually ends, and the next day is the morning of October 9th, and we get hit with some really heavy foreshadowing, in a way, while Chloe and Max have a conversation in the bed in the morning. Like, Max says, I don't want to get stuck in time, and if that isn't foreshadowing in a way, I don't know what it is. And of course, in the next scene, I chose to kiss Chloe, not only because, I ship them, but also just to mess with her and see her surprised face, because she obviously didn't think Max would do that. And then we'd go downstairs to have breakfast with Joyce, and I think the developers missed the opportunity to at least mess with the players a tiny bit and put one little "this action will have consequences" notification on the screen when there's a breakfast food decision. Just a tiny bit, just as a little joke. And obviously I picked eggs and bacon again. So next up was snooping through David's laptop, and that's another puzzle that is relatively easy if you still remember how to solve it. So I immediately knew what to look for and what password I had to use. And I think the password in question is actually kinda sweet, like picking the date that David first met Joyce in the diner. That's kinda cute. And looking through the files again, the game putting out like this trail of, David is super suspicious, but there was one little bit of foreshadowing in David's note on Kate, in the bullet point of Kate in relation to the class of Jefferson. Don't trust grown men with goatees. And I like that, because it's just the tiniest little bit of foreshadowing that in that moment, if you're playing it for the first time, you don't take seriously, because obviously David is just this paranoid weirdo who sees an enemy in everyone. So saying about Jefferson, don't trust a grown man with a goatee, that just seems like, that's his usual paranoid self. You can't trust in that. Obviously, he just trusts everyone. And I like that. So, next up, again, as you should already be used to, another fight with Chloe in it breaks loose, but that time I sided with her, because the way David is treating everybody is just super wrong. And then he really stepped over a line when he said the whole, you can't kick me out of my house, and Joyce just stepping in and being like, it's mine, on my name, so what I say goes, the law. And that was just pretty cool. Obviously, it's sad to put that wedge between Joyce and David, because if you follow the series, you know things, and that's that. And I just rewound that moment just for science, look at the other side, and siding with David just didn't feel right. Like, it almost felt like the game made you overthink siding with David because the situation was just not as cool, and dropping the whole, you're doing surveillance on everything bomb just felt better. And so we leave the Price household to Wales Diner to go and snoop through Frank's RV. So outside we have more talking and having random conversations, and there's this one little line of dialogue that's not quite foreshadowing, because we know that is something that is coming, but I just liked the line of that fisherman outside of the diner being like, "Crazy snow eclipse, what's next, a tornado?" And you're just sitting there as the player and think, yeah, actually there is, and you just can't say that. Well, actually you can, talking to the homeless lady and speaking with her about everything happening in town, and obviously I warned her about the storm, and she really appreciated it and said, there's bad vibes in here. So that's good. I feel good about that, even though we all know in this game, depending on what you do, choices don't super matter. First of all, because of the rewind power, and second of all, because of something I will get into probably, maybe, if I remember to, later. So, next up, when we enter the diner, we have the next big puzzle ahead of us. How to get at Frank's key for the RV. And that was pretty interesting, because I felt it kinda weird that Max is always like, we gotta be careful with these powers, we don't know how long I'll have them and how exactly they function, I don't want to get stuck in time, all that stuff, getting the nosebleeds from the experimenting with the powers in the diner in the episode, and then getting the nosebleed on the junkyard and everything. But suddenly doing all this rewinding while talking to people in the diner, getting every bit of information everywhere and from everyone, suddenly then all that rewinding is fine? That was definitely something that made me a little bit stop in my tracks, because I don't know, that just feels kinda a bit weird. I think that's something that would probably fall under the line of ludonarrative dissonance, but I'm not sure. I'm not a super expert on taking games apart like that. So, after a bit of puzzling with the dialogue choices and rewinding after getting some information, we have the key and get to go into the RV, and always throw the bone in the parking lot. Don't make the same mistake I did when I played the game for the very first time, because I got Pompidou hurt when I first played the game. to my defense, and getting that poor dog hurt is an absolute inexcusable thing, but to my defense, I misjudged the layout of the parking lot and the placement of the RV on it. And then Max made her comment about, yeah, the dog is gone for now, but he might be back. So I did the rewinding almost 10 years ago and threw the bone on the road because I didn't want to mess with the consequences of being attacked by that dog whenever we first played it. But now I know that nothing happens if you just throw the bone in the parking lot. The dog is busy while you snoop through the RV until you leave, and everything is good. No need to get that dog hurt by throwing the bone in the road. I still feel bad about that. But this time I made the right choice, threw the bone in the parking lot, and Pompidou is alright. And so we do the snooping around in the RV, and we find the pictures of Rachel definitely hanging out with Frank in a really specific way. And again, we have Chloe lashing out. In this case, yeah, she somewhat has a right to do it, but also people are their own persons, and if they want to hang out with other people, that's fine. And like you come to think that maybe people don't tell Chloe stuff because they know how she'll react when she finds out and stuff. So it was good that Max called her out for lashing out when they drove back to Blackwell Academy, so Max was dropped off there. The silence in the car when they stopped and it was time for Max to get out was pretty sad, but it is what it is. So we enter the next scene. Max is in her room looking at that old Polaroid picture of her and Chloe that was taken the very day that William died. And we get to the highlight of this episode. We suddenly get introduced to a new mechanic. Max looks at the picture and suddenly here's the moment from when the picture was taken, and the picture gets blurry and the screen says you move the left and right sticks to focus the picture, and boom, time jump back in time to the moment the picture was taken. We're playing the day and the moment William leaves to pick up Joyce from work after grocery shopping, where he gets that accident and dies. And when I first played the game, that was so mind-blowing. And when the scene first played out and Chloe said something in response to William about Max, that she's never leaving me. And then William says, that makes all of us, and leaves. That hits so hard when you know, because you know what happens next. Big bummer. So you do the key hiding, and then you get this cool sequence of pictures of the original timeline burning up and getting replaced by the alternative timeline of William being still alive and you see all those pictures of David burning away, and you have all those happy memories with William. And then there's the last picture in the timeline change, and you see Chloe happy with a key and a new car for her birthday. And I think that's already like a hint towards what's coming. And suddenly Max goes back to the new timeline and she's hanging out with the Vortex Club. That's wild. And she's super confused seeing Warrenworth Brook and everything, and instantly goes into panic mode. Like, what else has she changed? And obviously her mind goes immediately to Chloe, and she goes for the bus, and who's the bus driver? It's David. And so she goes to the Price house and knocks, and William opens the door and calls for Chloe that she has a visitor. And then we see her rolling up in a wheelchair. Boom. Episode end. And that was such a heavy hitter and such a shock. Like, back in those days when we first played it, and that's just really rough and seeing Max being super shocked and everything, like, wow. And I immediately got sad because I know what will happen in the next episode and how rough and sad it will be. Overall, I think this is a pretty nice episode, starting off like really slow, having all those little search puzzles of getting the materials for the bomb to break into Principal Wells' office, and then having the hide and seek thing with the pool, and then the rewind information gathering dialogue option puzzle in the diner. And it feels honestly a bit slow, but I think it's just a little lead up to keep you safe and chill in mind for the heavy hitter that is the introduction of the new mechanic, and then that absolute shocker ending of the episode. I think that's pretty well done. And just imagine, like, back in the day when the game originally released and you would have had to wait like a month or two or something to know what had happened to Chloe while she's in that wheelchair, and wondering if you can turn back time again and fix that mistake like that. I can't imagine what it must have been like to have to wait for that reveal, how the time manipulation and changing of events what it will do to the rest of the story. And that must have been really cool. And so wow. I still remember when I once watched some web series and you thought for like a week that a character was dead because of a cliffhanger. And playing Life is Strange back then, when it released a few months apart with the episodes, must have felt pretty similar. So yeah, those were my thoughts on episode 3, Chaos Theory. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to follow me on my social media, especially Channel 3, the Goodreads for video games. All important links are in the description, and until the next episode. Bye.